Hi, everyone. This is Nancy Pav with Century 21 Redwood Realty. This is another session of More Than Just a House. And today I'm with Jeanne Dattilo of Myers Appraisal Services. And we are going to talk about a couple different types of appraisals that Jeanne does. So Jeanne, the first thing every buyer or every seller I have wants to know is, what do they need to do to prepare for an appraisal?
Okay, very good question. And first, Nancy, thank you for having me on today. I appreciate this. And I would say that really to prepare a homeowner to prepare for the appraiser's inspection it's really probably a lot less than they think. I would recommend that people, tidy up a little bit just to make themselves feel better about presenting their home. Be available to the appraiser to answer any questions, be knowledgeable about what type of systems you have, maybe when your some of the limited life systems like your AC or your heat pump or water heater were recently replaced, when your roof was last redone, just kind of some technical details about the house that would go into the appraisal. And then other than that, really just being available to answer questions and not really worrying about, if the house is perfectly put together or perfectly decorated, because honestly, we're looking at the bones of the house and the bedrooms, the bathrooms, what kind of features there are in the home and outside the home. So really, it's just, it's a very relaxed, easy process and not something that a home buyer needs to worry about, or the seller, I'm sorry, needs to worry about.
Okay, awesome. So how much time would you say are you spending in a house?
Yeah, that's actually a question that's a little different now in the environment that we're in. Typically, it would maybe be a half an hour just to go through and take pictures. Now we're trying to limit, our exposure and to other people and to the sellers. Don't want anybody to feel uncomfortable, so we try to go through pretty quickly. And in some cases, I've actually had a few folks who really didn't want us to come into the home at all. So as long as the lender is okay with it, we can rely on pictures that they provide and information maybe that the real estate agent had already gathered, information on tax records, that kind of thing. So really, generally, it's not a very long process, and it's even shorter in today's environment.
Okay, awesome. So one of the things I like to do is I like to provide the appraiser with some information. So for example, any updates, floor plans, if I have them. Do you find that to be something that would be helpful?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. The more information that we have going into the appraisal, even before the inspection, the better. It just, we're just all the more prepared and can prepare our questions and fill in the gaps easier. I love it when on residential or commercial properties, both, sometimes the owner will have a prior appraisal and they'll give us a copy of that. It's absolutely not necessary. And sometimes people don't want to give the appraiser a previous appraisal because they think it might steer them in a direction or not. I like having it because it just kind of answers a lot of the basic questions for me right off the bat. And any appraiser that's worth their salt won't be influenced by that. They will make their own decision, form their own opinion of value and not be influenced by another appraiser's work. But it is helpful just to have the basic information. So yeah, things like the floor plan that's really helpful. Anything that gives dimensions of maybe like if you have a really nice shed or detached garage, a patio, that kind of thing that may or may not be on the tax record, that's helpful. So yeah, that's always the more info we get, it's just making our job easier and more accurate.
Okay, awesome. And a lot of times I have people that think that, when they buy the level 10 granite, that should be worth more than the level 1 granite. So what are some of the things that homeowners can do to make their homes, this is obviously personal choice, right? But are there things that they can do to make their home more valuable in the eyes of an appraiser?
I would say that the two biggest items would be an updated kitchen and an updated master bath. I think that, and you can speak to this as an agent, that's the two of the things that prospective buyers really want to hone in on, and are important to them. And yeah, that really, those two areas in particular add value. Things like decks and patios, that is always nice, a finished basement. But as far as like, where you want to focus and get probably the most bang for your buck, if you were going to invest and want to see the return on that in the appraisal, I would say kitchens and master bath.
Okay, awesome. And what I tell people is when they're looking at granite, I say, if you love the level 10 granite and that is what you want, by all means buy it. However, I don't believe you're going to see the difference in value in an appraisal. Would you agree to that? Is, from an appraiser perspective, is granite? I mean, does it matter what level it is?
Yeah, I don't know that, honestly, I would, I would know level 10 right off the bat if I saw it.
Right.
I would clearly know that that's laminate or formica or something like that versus granite, and that would stand out. But yeah, it is a lot of like, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Mm-hmm. And not every dollar that you put into your home as far as improvements, you're not going to necessarily get a one-to-one value, in an appraisal. I think probably the best example of that is pools. When people put in a pool, that's their personal preference. It's something that they enjoy. It may not be something that everybody in the market necessarily wants, to have to maintain and care for. So you may not necessarily get, 100% of the value out of it again. So right. Yeah, it's a sliding scale.
So when I teach my real estate classes, what I say about pools is this: it's all relative. If you were putting a backyard pool in a house in Alaska, you're not going to get the money back.
Right.
Putting a pool in your backyard in Arizona or Florida, you'll probably see 100% return, right? It might actually be a deficit if you don't have a pool versus, but in Alaska, if you had an outdoor pool, it would probably have zero value. It would probably be a negative value because of the
right.
So I think location too, the area in the country that you're in, that's helpful as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I would agree with that.
So, and I also know that you do commercial appraisals, and we were talking a little bit before we started about easements.
Yeah.
And how, and really buying land, we all have seen how the county, certainly Loudoun County, is expanding the roads and making them wider. Well, that land was privately owned, more than likely, prior to the county making this road or widening the road. So how does that work?
Sure. So I've dealt with this on both commercial properties and residential properties. And the first thing that people should know is that, the county or whoever the government body is, doesn't want, I think we all think of eminent domain, like the government is going to come in and they're just going to take away my land. And that's really the very last resort, because that's a court proceeding, and, people want to avoid that as much as possible. So they really want to come in and say, look, we do need part of your land, like maybe a sliver along the backyard, let's say, and it's going to be part of this road now, or maybe even, like the berm of the road, something like that. They want to negotiate. They want to work with the property owner to come to an agreement on how much that piece of land is worth, so that it doesn't have to become a court case. And the way that works generally is that first thing they do is they get an appraisal of what is that little sliver of land worth. And that would be, let's say for a residential lot, we would look at similar residential lots in the area, similar in size and location, and figure out, well, what have they sold for? Not the house, but let's just talk about vacant land or vacant lots. What have they sold for on a dollar per square foot basis? And then we would use that same, dollar per square foot and say, okay, well, if the county wants X dollar or X square feet of your land, then X square feet times that dollar per square foot would generally be the value if they were going to take the whole thing, if they were going to acquire it all. That's called a right of way dedication, when they take the whole piece. Sometimes easements are just we need to put in a storm drain on part of your property, or in order to build this road, we need to use it. We need to put some of our equipment on it, and our people need to stand on it. And so people are compensated for that type of thing too, but at a lower value because the property is not being taken away. It's just being used in a different way.
Right.
So, and it is a negotiation, you know, it's
Right.
at the beginning.
So when you do those estimations, do you tend to be working for the county, or are you working for the owner of that property?
Most of our experience in the past has been with the county. Sometimes we do get requests from property owners to either look at the other side of it, you know, if they've maybe gotten an offer and they want to see how the offer stacks up. But we have to be very careful to not, you know, be.
Well, obviously you can't work on both sides.
Exactly.
But you know, I thought it would be interesting because I think, you know, might be in an owner's best interest to have their own professional give an opinion for the value, because
it is. It depends. I mean, it depends on the amount of money that you're willing to spend, because those types of appraisals are complicated and they're fairly expensive. I think most, you know, people are used to paying $300 or $400 or $500 for a home appraisal, but these easement type of appraisals can be pretty expensive, in the thousands of dollars. But you would certainly need to have one if you were unhappy or planning to protest or resist, you know, the taking of your land.
Got it. So anything else you'd like to share with us about appraisals?
Oh gosh, right now, the residential side of things, as you know, is pretty busy, and there's still a lot of turnover. So we're doing a lot of residential work. Things are still a little slow on the commercial side. I think a lot of commercial bankers right now are working with their clients, small business owners, on PPP loans. Small businesses, I had a conversation with a small business owner today. They're just trying to pay their bills and keep the doors open. And they're really not making decisions about expanding their business, buying or selling property. So the commercial side of things is pretty darn slow right now, but hopefully as the world opens back up, we'll see that pick up.
Awesome. All right, Jeannie, thanks for spending some time with me today. It was really helpful. And if any of you have questions for Jeannie, I'm going to put her contact information in the post so that you can feel free to reach out to her, whether you need a residential appraisal or a business appraisal. Jeannie, thanks very much for joining me.
Thank you, Nancy. This was great. Thanks so much.
Sure.